Gear Raid 3 Stage 20 with an epic only team. That is the premise for this video, and this behind me is the recording that I took. We're going to play the recording first, and then I'm going to show you the team's gearing and everything behind them and what you need. If you do want to do this team, I wouldn't really recommend it, to be honest with you, but we'll get into the details on that, why it just has some very fine tuning. So this is the team, this is the lineup. You can see that we have a Lunaria, Idril, Brienne, Laurel, Hollow, Pyros, Dolores, Autumn, Maul, and Lightlocke. And there's some pretty interesting stuff around this team. You may notice if you look up in the corner here, you can see that Lightlocke is level 2. Well, we'll get into exactly why that's the case later. I'm pretty happy with that. I think it's quite a funny strategy. But as you can see, the rest of it, we have 5 awakenings on Idril, Dolores, Maul, Hollow, and Brienne. But for Lunaria, Pyros, Laurel, and Lightlocke and Autumn, we don't really care. So that's the basics of the team and the awakenings. And we'll jump into the run now. So I'm going to pause a little bit to explain the placement, but basically there's very high resistances. Brienne goes down so that she can reach, with Lunaria's Piercer Lord bonus, she can actually reach the first row on the left, which is obviously necessary. We need to kill the enemies. But then if you look, I place my Idril diagonally down. So she's now in this corner here. The reason for this is if I place my Dolores, now Dolores is actually able to cover both of them. So if Dolores uses an attack boost, it will affect both of them. And then likewise, when I place my Autumn down, it will affect both. However, I place down Laurel first instead. And I don't think it matters all that much which order you place those two down in, honestly. Because I'm not going to use my Laurel until I use the ults. So as soon as Dolores' ult comes up, she's not using a Spirit Horn, it's just a Ancestral Teachings. It's about the time when this spawns, you can see that the left side is mostly dealt with, but the right side is now up. So this is a bit of a problem. However, when Idril ults, she grants herself a passive. Whenever someone ults for Idril, she gains 70% damage to airborne enemies, 100% damage to non-airborne enemies. So when she ults, she suddenly does a pretty big burst. You see 221k. That's from that bonus coming in while obviously being stacked, and probably also getting 20% from Laurel standing next to her. So there's a lot of damage bonuses coming in there. Then I drop down Autumn and immediately activate Autumn's ult just so I can get more burst damage out so that that enemy gets eviscerated super fast. Then I despawn Laurel. That way I feed more rage back into these two on the right side, Dolores and Idril, the two most important people in this run. It does stack into their rage caps even while their ults are currently active. And for that same purpose, I put down a Hollow. And as you can see here, it is a Hollow with a Spirit Horn, giving her enough rage to instantly ult, which is what I do. So this is all just stacking into their rage caps. I don't ult with Brienne yet, not at all so far. And now I ult again with Dolores. And now I ult with my Brienne just as this wave starts spawning. We want to really get rid of those guys as quick as possible to reduce the damage from Idril being absorbed by them, because she's much better as a single target hero. So now this one comes up and we don't really have anything to deal with this, but that's okay. We're going to ult on Idril pretty much instantly when it comes up, just so we can get this guy really wounded. And I ult on Autumn just to get that, you see, that bonus damage there from the passive. So it boosts. Let me just skip back. So the reasoning is, as soon as these guys die, I want to kill this guy before. I mean, you can actually kill him after this wave, but either way, we're slowly pushing him down. But once we ult with Autumn, it gives us a big damage boost, and then it goes from 33k to 112k. So you can see that damage bonus is pretty huge. And that's where my favorite part of the strategy comes in. I have placed a Lightlocke and a Maul. Now this is really janky, and that's why I'm especially proud of it. So we place down Lightlocke first, facing right. Just because then he can at least heal here. I think you can probably promote him to unlock the corner heals. Mine is level 2. He's not even really used. And then we place a Maul facing up. So Lightlocke can heal Maul, right? Maul can handle these guys. Lightlocke can heal Maul and heal Brienne at the moment. Well, the rest of it continues as normal. We have these ults going on. We ult again from Hollow as soon as possible. And look here. So my Maul got hit once by the boss. The boss will throw a spear at the last placed hero. That spear will nearly one-shot this Maul, as you can see. And that's because you need about 19, I think just about 19k, ideally around 20k HP to survive this. So I had to tune my Maul a little bit, and I had to give him a maxed artifact to survive that. But now look at the healing from Lightlocke. Lightlocke's ult is up. Isn't that a terrible heal? However, look at the damage on Brienne. We just got 2 lots of 120k out of that. So my Lightlocke is built so that he is rubbish at healing because his rage cap is so small. Because look what happens when his rage cap is, when he gets to fire his ults. Idril gets to shoot nearly 200k arrows. So we want, there we go, another arrow, another spear. Now we get a heal. So now we get to decimate. Let me just go back and show you, but it is actually really quite impactful. So if we watch now, that ult goes off, allowing Idril to blast those guys away. A heal there gives us another 184k damage. Basically, I refer to it as the Lightlocke battery strategy. So he's just there to power up Idril, because he's going to be ulting rapidly. But let me just go back again, because otherwise we'll miss something. So as soon as Hollow's ult is up, I despawn Hollow, and I bring in my Laurel. We ult with Maul on the left, we despawn Laurel, and now the left side is dead. Maul can handle that by himself, unbuffed, with just autos and one ult. And now I'll despawn Brienne, and I'll ult with Dolores as well. It's better to ult with the boosters after Idril, because you really want to proc her talent. It's huge. The damage bonus is crazy. It's so much. She's wearing an Idril's Gaze artifact. She's in pretty good gear, which we'll go over after this. But yeah, you can see the general premise is we're trying to get as many passive procs on Idril as possible. So I'm staggering Dolores and Autumn and everything else that I can to facilitate that. And then on the left side, you can see there's a big wave here. Maul is slowly autoing them down. He has a passive defense break, so he's doing a good job anyway. And then now we've got Laurel popped, so we've got the ults up again. Idril will shoot the nearest enemy if there are no taunters in the middle. So that's going fine. We can ult again here. And then now Idril can help mop up on the left side. So Maul was fine. And then we can put Brienne on the right to help deal with this wave, because the first clearance I missed the last enemy. But as you can see, that handles it pretty fine. So that's it. That's the run. Gear Raid 3, stage 20 with an epic only team. And I'll show you the damage stats from the end of this. So there we have it. Dear Lightlocke getting a little bit of XP, not a single promotion. And as for the damage, it is Idril, of course. But you can see a really good job from Brienne. Brienne was really key to this. I needed someone to help get damage out in the middle. If you are trying to do stage 20, you can probably replicate a lot of this, but swapping Brienne for like a Silas, if you have a Silas, would be huge. One of my good friends on my Discord, Jimux, did a sort of similar strategy. At least with the middle, it's very similar. But he had a Setram instead of a Brienne, and he's someone I talk to quite a lot for this strategy. So thanks, Jimux. Appreciate it, mate. So there are definitely ways you can get around this without having exactly this, but I think it's cool. I'm actually trying to do this on global at the moment. Okay, so now we'll talk about the gearing, as this is super important. This is, of course, endgame gear, like super endgame gear. We're capping ourselves into using only epic heroes. So, ta-da! You will need to gear 2 DPS in really, really good Gear Raid 3 sets. This is the Infernal Roar on Idril, because that's all she does. She's just shooting. And on Brienne, just to be safe, I gave her the Soulbound Arcana. But honestly, she doesn't actually ult that much in the run. Maybe twice. So I think giving her Ageless Wrath or Infernal Roar would actually both work perfectly fine on her as well, because she's not getting the chance to ult that much with Soulbound Arcana. The goal is to kill the middle as fast as possible. We are using Warlord on the left set just so we can get some more attack speed, as it does help a load. But that's it. This is the main part of gearing. You need to gear 2 really, really good DPS, Idril and Brienne. We need loads of attack speed on them. We need to max out crit rate. We need good amount of crit damage, good amount of attack. That's what's required here. Obviously a little bit low on the crit rate on Idril, but it worked out okay. But yeah, you really do need to pump stats as much as you can. I've actually taken 2 lots of crit damage on my Idril, because although the resistances are so high in this stage, we're going to be relying on a Dolores boost as much as we can. And the next part to mention is we are using Idril's Gazes. Both of these have level 25 Idril's Gaze. Considering how tight my run was, I don't know how negotiable that is. If you're not familiar with Idril's Gaze, it is a 40% defense and magic resistance ignore for 3 seconds on a 25% chance on making an attack. So very, very, very good for this kind of stage. Resistance is super high. And one thing that's important to note with Idril's Gaze, if you have 4 dupes into it, so not max, but you've got 4, it takes you to level 22, it will only be a 30% defense ignore. So you really do need the full 5 to get the 40% ignore, otherwise it will just be 30%. The other ones increase the proc chance. So that is those 2 heroes. You definitely want to go for as much stats as you can. If you want to get upset looking at colors, then some of these are pretty nice. The rage regen didn't make a big difference, I think. I could be wrong, because that's the only rage regen I have in the entire set. And yeah, most of it is just kind of standard ancient gear. I mean, this one's actually quite nice, but it has no attack percent on it, but it was the best I had. So while the gear is very good, I don't think it's insane. I don't think it's unattainable. I already have the gear picked out that I'm going to do when I do this on the global account. My problem is the artifacts. So we'll get into that a bit more. But as you can see, for these two, we need pretty good artifacts. The other DPS, the only one other DPS used is Maul. Maul is in a Soulbound Arcana set. It's a pretty good set again, as you can see, but he didn't really have any troubles whatsoever. The first wave of enemies on the left, he nearly autoed to death. So I think this gear is kind of overkill for what was actually required. And the final wave, the big wave on the left, Idril mopped up for him. So I don't think the gearing requirement on Maul is actually that heavy. I did give mine a maxed Sharpshooter's Crest, which I can max on Global as well. I don't know that you need to go this far. One of the reasons I did it was to make sure that his health was high enough so that he didn't get one shot. So something interesting to point out here, and why I think the gearing requirement for myself on Global and for any viewers who attempt this strategy should be quite a bit lower. Do you see here there's no collection bonuses? There's not a single thing on this column here. If I go to any of my heroes, if I go to this guy, she's getting both, by the way. They do, if they're duo faction, they get both collection bonuses. There's nothing. That is because on the test server, I have deliberately not collected any of these bonuses. They're still red, and it shows in that they're not being collected. Also, I have no Pantheon bonuses on this server. I've got 0 bonuses. It's actually quite significant if you've been playing since global launch. It's a lot of rage regen, it's a bunch of health, a bunch of attack, and crit damage. It does actually help quite a bit. So, although the gear is good, I'm using no Pantheon bonuses, no collection bonuses. So besides that, we'll take a look at the Infernal heroes. For Dolores, of course, we have an Invigoration set because we want to boost Idril's attack. Just to show you the placement order, we see we get Idril, then we get down our Dolores, so she can actually cover both of them. So one of them will get the 10% bonus. It will be random between the two, so it is a bit of a pain. But if you can get it on either Hollow or on Autumn as well, then it will help increase the odds that you spread it between them. But you may need to restart the run, and you can check by clicking on the hero to see if they've got the little buff icon in the left side. So yeah, Invigoration makes a big difference. We need attack and we want to overcome the resistances. I know I went for 2 lots of crit damage, but that's because most of Idril's damage was going to be during Dolores' windows. As for the Warlord set, that's not really necessary. Attack speed doesn't really matter, but you do get 10% more on the main stat, and the main reason I chose it was because this set had more attack overall. I just wanted to make my Dolores as strong as possible for a total of 12k attack, but again, no collection bonuses and no Pantheon bonuses. Obviously max skill, max awaken, and for the artifact, ancestral teachings at max for the maximum attack boost. Then we have Pyros. Pyros was not placed or used, so he doesn't matter. He's not even skilled up. Okay, so the last few heroes to go over are going to be, of course, Autumn, Laurel, Lightlocke, and Hollow. So for Autumn, her gear really did not matter. It's just random healing gear. Ideally, she should actually be in a set of Invigoration just to help make sure that everyone gets the 10% attack bonus. But you could also put her in the Rapidity set, which you can buy from the vendors for the 1 reduced placement cost. That might help, but I would say go for the Invigoration set for the best option. Her skill ups are needed, of course, for her Ultimate's boost. Awakenings don't have any impact, it's just stats on rares. And for the artifact, we need the Spirit Horn. Though fortunately, this does not need to be maxed. It's only promoted 3 times to get initial rage plus 40%, as that will get us close enough to Gold Maple's boon on drop, which is what we want. Next we have Laurel. She is in Invigoration so that, you know, if I drop her I can boost Idril if she's not already boosted by Dolores. So yeah, not super necessary because of the range she's covering. But hey, it doesn't really matter. She's only down for half a second anyway. We are using Idril entirely for her 5th promotion, which grants 50% rage regen to allies around her when Laurel either dies or is despawned manually. As for artifacts, she has this, but it was just a testing artifact. It doesn't actually matter for this run. And my favorite part of the strategy is Lightlocke. So it is this Lightlocke that I've been using in the run. He is level 2. He has no promotions. It wouldn't be a problem to give him promotions, really. I didn't want him to heal more, that's the thing. The focus with Lightlocke is that he heals just enough so that Maul doesn't die, but that he's able to spam his ultimate as much as possible, which is why his skills are maxed. We want him to get as many ults off as he can in the duration that he has, while Zillitu is still throwing spears at Maul, and that's just because it's boosting Idril, it's giving her her passive. So for Lightlocke's gearing, I gave him just about enough gear so that he kept Maul alive. You don't really need much at all, and you may be able to get away with no gear whatsoever if your Lightlocke is actually leveled up or promoted or whatever, but it's something you'll just have to test if you want to try this strategy. I call it the Lightlocke battery because I think it's really fun and I want it to be a thing. It did genuinely seem to make this run work. I tried it with a Nisande instead and it didn't work. The boosts that Idril is getting from the passive are massive. It's a huge damage increase, and getting them at the right moments is really, really pivotal. It really makes a huge difference. So I think it does work. I tested a whole bunch of stuff. I tried using a Lucas, but then it wasn't, obviously the left side wasn't dying then. So your mileage may vary, but there's some really cool stuff you can do that makes quite a big difference. And finally, there's Hollow. Hollow is also in the Invigoration set, just so she can reach and give the set bonus out. You'll probably want to time this and figure out who has the Invigoration set. As for the rest of it, it doesn't really need to all be endgame sets. She just needs to have healing. She needs to keep people alive, and she needs enough HP that she doesn't get one shot when she gets placed, because she does tend to eat one spear when she gets dropped, at least in my timings. Aside from that, max skill, of course, because she needs to ult, and she needs to provide as much rage regen as possible. Max awakenings, again, we need the rage regen, and for the artifact, she has a maxed spirit horn, because we need her ultimate to be available on drop, though she does start with 500 out of 900 rage, so this is providing more rage than is needed, so you can probably get away with 2 promotions less on the spirit horn, I would say. So that is it. That is the run. Those are the heroes. That's the strategy. I'll play the video again at the end, but without me pausing and waffling over it, just so you can see it again and maybe look into it a bit more. Again, I wouldn't really recommend this strategy if you're trying to clear it. If you have better heroes, and by better heroes, I predominantly mean Silas or Hatsa. They're really good and they'll help, so definitely use those guys. This strategy was kind of just a personal challenge to see if we could beat a stage 20 of a gear raid with an epic only team. As far as I'm aware, this is the first ever team to beat a gear raid on stage 20 that is pure epic, not even a Volker. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. It was a fun little challenge, and hopefully it helps. And I'm going to actually do this on the global server once I get the annoying spirit horn. I'm missing one spirit horn, so I can't quite do it. I'm going to try it without any upgrades on my spirit horn, so we'll see how that goes. But anyway, I hope the video was informative. I hope it was interesting for you guys. If you try this strategy or you tweak this strategy and you find other ways that work, then please do leave a comment, as it does genuinely help other people out. I've seen it many times. Thank you for those who've left those in the past to help others, and thank you in advance for anyone who chooses to. Hope the video was interesting, guys. All the best. Take care, and bye-bye.